we're talking about this tough issue, right? So appreciate you folks logging on. It's very timely, actually. Fentanyl has come to our shores from the continent. Came from the continent from China and Mexico, actually. And now it's right here on our island. So I wanted to share with you some thoughts about this drug, but really as an excuse to talk about all drugs. And what I'm doing now is actually going all around the Big Island. And if at the end of this presentation you think, hey, maybe my school could benefit from something like this, then let's set something up. I'm willing to travel anywhere to do this for free, because it's really bad, and you'll see as I go along. So the title of the presentation is really, I started off with it being Fentanyl Kills, kamake, and but it was kind of too heavy for the schools, so they didn't like the word kills and all that. They didn't even know what fentanyl meant, but anyway, so I went and I kind of changed the title. So the umbrella initiative we have is be kind to your mind. And then choose not to use. So you'll see how this thing plays out, and if you guys get questions, just raise your hand and I'll try to catch you, or we can just present and then we can do questions and answers at the end. So it's a drug awareness and fentanyl poisoning prevention talk story. So let me just show you some slides. Let me see how to get to the next slide. Okay. So here's the deal. Fentanyl is now the #1 cause of death for Americans age 18 to 45. And mostly, it's coming in this pill form. So, but look how little, all it takes is just 2 milligrams. To kill you, to be a lethal dose. And that's very little. Okay. So I got asked, right when September 1st, I got asked by a reporter, hey, Kimo, well, what about this rainbow fentanyl? We know it's coming in pill form, but now they're making them into different colors. Like, hey, what's up with that? And I was like, I haven't seen it. So I called the police, I called the FBI, I called the post office. You guys ever heard of rainbow fentanyl? So they did research. They said, oh yeah, that's on the mainland. I said, is it here? And everybody told me, no, Kimo, it's not there. Well, that was September 1st. So I make the front page. I say, hey, it's not here, but I guess it's just a matter of time, right? And hey, 3 days later, big drug bust in West Hawaii, Kona side. Something like 3,000 pills, 62% of it laced with fentanyl, enough to be a lethal dose. Thank goodness they got them off the streets. So it's here. If it's on the Big Island, it's on Maui. If it's on Maui, it's on Oahu. It's all over. So we really got to be careful. So I'm glad you folks tuning in. This is a super important. So how dangerous is it? Well, check it out. It's a white powdered substance. It can kill with ingestion or if you inhale it. And it's just 2 milligrams, right? So by comparison, a sweetener packet contains about 1,000 milligrams. So this is more deadly than cyanide, 100 times more deadly than morphine, 50 times more deadly than heroin. And if you see again another description over there, the comparison between, a lethal dose and a penny. It's just very little. And that is why one person every 13 days, that was 2 weeks ago, as you notice, I had to update my slide. Okay. Hey, one person every 11 days dying from this drug on the Big Island. On Maui, it's not as drastic. I like say one in every 20 days, maybe something like that. I gotta double check, but still, it's pretty bad. And so we kind of sounded the alarm. I came in the paper yesterday, even a front page again, because I did a big training at our Kamehameha School's Hawaii campus, and somebody and a youth had passed in one of our public schools from this drug. So again, I'm glad you guys tuning in, because this is something that's going to be on all islands. I put the picture of Colt Brennan because, famous guy, quarterback, UH, was using drugs. I think he was using meth. And so the tricky part is that these fentanyl is being laced in almost any drug. And that's why now when I give the talk on fentanyl, hey, I'm talking about all drugs pretty much. Okay, so that's why, so people so where does fentanyl come from? Well, it's an opioid, and basically painkillers, okay? And the hook, the hook with all painkillers, one, it relieves your pain, but also you get this feeling of contentment, right? This kind of like fake happiness. You love everybody. I mean, when I had my knee surgery, I was on Percocets, for 2 weeks. And that's, I never have the pain, but I also was like telling all my kids, hey, give daddy hugs, And my kids was like, wow, what you on? Take 2. No, so, the thing is like super addictive. You think life is all good, and it's not, right? So go figure. So now with kids, when you're taking painkillers for physical reasons, supposed to be, but you get our youth with emotional pain, right? To them, it's worse than physical pain. So then this becomes an option for them, which is why it's really dangerous. So the opioid comes from the opioid plant. Let me show you here. It's basically that opium, which is heroin is made directly from opium. But then the plant can be synthetically augmented in a laboratory through chemical reactions. So that's how they make hydrocodone, oxycodone, Percocet, Vicodin, and then it comes in pill form. But it can also be 100% made in a laboratory. And that's where fentanyl is made, methadone. So the trouble with this country is, pain medication is the most commonly prescribed medications in the United States. So it's kind of one blessing and one curse, right? This pain medication. But when it's prescribed, it looks like that. It's in patch form. It's not pills. It's not powder. So this is how we're seeing it on the streets. Right, we're seeing it in the pill form, and it's mixed with meth. It's mixed with heroin. It's mixed with cocaine. And then there's these fake pills, the fake oxy, fake Vicodin, fake hydrocodone, and even in Adderall. It's in Adderall. And Adderall is, one of my daughters took Adderall, was taking Adderall in college. Oh, Dad, I gotta focus, but. It's laced in that too. And so the drug dealers think, hey, they can put just a little bit inside and you get on real fake happiness high. You're going to ask hey, where you got that from? And then if you can get them for free initially, right? Because that's how the drug dealers work, right? They give you one for free. And then after that, they expect you to buy them. And then now you stay hooked. So this is why we're kind of trying to get the word out. We let the kids know and everybody, parents know that, hey, be careful because it's out there. And here's Big Island. So I don't know how heavy it's on Maui, but the state total, 53 pounds they found fentanyl. So I asked the police, I said, so give me one update on how much you folks seized in the past 2-3 years. 53 pounds. So if you take 53 pounds and only 2 milligrams, is enough for kill somebody. You're talking that would, if you get 1.4 million people in the state, that would kill all of us 6 times. So it's ridiculous. And Big Island, we get 30 pounds of that 53. So that's why we kind of, we're trying to figure this thing out because this is real bad. So here's the deal. That if fentanyl is not a number 1 cause of death for Americans 18 to 45, how do we stop this trend? All right, how do we stop this trend? So here's the deal. Well, first we know that, if you business class, right, supply and demand. Okay, so we know if we decrease the supply by enforcement and, statewide, I think we're doing a really good job. Oahu, Maui, we really tracking the post office now because we're realizing that's where they're coming in from. These people are going on the web, kind dark websites, going to, and they're getting them from Mexico getting them from China, but I heard that they're figuring out how to make them now on the continent. We never find any labs here on the island, on any other islands. Thank God, because we're really tracking them. But it's coming in. It's coming in through the internet and through the internet. So we got to decrease the supply. But we're in the social services field, right? We counselors, we therapists, we teachers, we case managers, we work for the government. You know, we can also help to decrease the demand through education and through prevention. So the best people to start decreasing the demand to is our youth and our parents, because you get most of the folks who are addicted to meth like that, they're kind of aware, like, hey, where they getting their meth from, and they get something called fentanyl strips where they kind of test their drug to make sure no more fentanyl. But that's called a harm reduction approach, you know, and that approach is good for a specific population, but for the general population, we just like make everybody aware of how these drugs play out. So what we're trying to do is really empower the youth. I mean, if you guys my age, you remember Nancy Reagan saying, just say no. Okay. So, I mean, just say no, you know, it never works. Especially nowadays. I mean, my kids, you tell them stand up, they sit down. You tell them stay home, they sneak out. You know what I mean? So, kids nowadays, you gotta have a different approach. Okay. So the approach that we get now is we just like empower the youth, right? Because it's not enough just to tell kids, just say no. So we like replace the word no with the word KNOW. Because we know that knowledge is power, and with youth, knowledge is a superpower. So this is what we're doing around now. So we're going around to the schools and we're telling, hey, you guys, we know that nobody go from chocolate candy to fentanyl. Okay, there's usually a gateway, and then this is what I love about this presentation is because I can use fentanyl as almost the excuse to get into the schools and talk about marijuana. Talk about alcohol, talk about cigarettes, they don't smoke cigarettes, talk about vaping, okay? And it's perfect. So finally the schools is like, oh, fentanyl. So I'm like, hey, oh my gosh, let me into your school so I can talk about what the gateway to fentanyl, which is what we're really concerned about, right? So here I am. So I go, hey, so I said, you guys, let's just talk about the gateway drugs, okay? Because fentanyl is there, but I know you guys not gonna jump to there. Now, it is true, one pill can kill if you're just going out there and you just take, you know, somebody giving you one pill, you just take them. But usually it's kind of one lead up to that. Oh, I like try. So the biggest gateway drug, everybody, is alcohol since the Bible days, okay? And by 10th grade, 90% of kids already drank. By 12th grade, almost every kid drink alcohol. Now, people got to realize what alcohol get is what we get in our brain already that mimics alcohol, that chemical. So that's why alcohol is addictive, because as we drink alcohol and we get on buzz, because that's the hook, right? The hook is the buzz, the relaxing feeling, reduce stress. Some people drink for sleep, but that's all the hook. The fact of the matter is we already get in our brain what alcohol giving us, so we can do it ourselves through meditation, through deep breathing, through relaxation. So I tell folks, the addiction cycle is really simple to understand. It goes from I like it to I want it to I need it. And when you're in I need it, you're stuck. Okay. And you can check this out with, you can check yourself out with any of these drugs. If you're a cigarette smoker, if you're in vapor, hey, yeah, you might start off with, oh, I like it. Oh, it tastes good. Oh, that truly, that truly tastes good, huh? The strawberry truly. So, and then but then if you stop there, okay, that's cool. But then maybe you go to, I want it. Now you say, oh, I like, where you got that truly from? Or the seltzer, the I don't know, Bud Light, soda seltzer. Wow, different, huh? Now you stay, I want it. And then if you stay to, I need it, then your priorities get all mixed up, and then you go through what withdrawals when you don't get it. And the withdrawals is for real: anxiety, depression, insomnia. So don't get hooked. Now here's the deal with alcohol. Alcohol is in cough medicine. My mother used to make an awesome rum cake. Okay, but I don't go with cough medicine. I don't need cough medicine. You know what I mean? So be careful. So we tell the kids, hey, be careful out there. The next one we talk about is this nicotine, right? So tobacco. Now, once nicotine enters the brain, it begins to copy one of our own brain's most powerful chemicals. And the hook is this enhanced pleasure, decreased anxiety. But our brain releasing this, when a kid make on 3.0, they hit on home run, or somebody give them an awesome compliment, your brain is releasing that drug, that same thing that nicotine is that you're getting from. So what makes these drugs real tricky and super addictive is that once the brain realizes that it's getting, it's like it's parallel from the outside, then your brain will stop producing it. And when the brain stops producing it, because the brain not stupid, because if you're getting them from the outside, it's gonna be like, hey, if you're getting them from the outside, I ain't producing it, okay? And it stops. And then what happens is, that's when the craving comes in, because the brain not making you feel good anymore, naturally, right? So then you're gonna go smoke one cigarette, or you're gonna try to relax, because you gotta relax, because the brain don't know how to relax, because you want to shut them off, right? So that's the tricky part with this drugs. You go from I like it to I want it to I need it really fast. So that takes us to vaping. Okay, so I tell the kids, hey, vaping, like 1 joule is 42 cigarettes. 42 cigarettes in 1 joule. It's worse than cigarettes. I don't know how people came up with the idea that you're going to vape as a way to not smoke cigarettes. I think that was crazy. You're just making yourself more addicted to the nicotine. So plus, vaping get ultra-fine particles, get propylene glycol. It's just like, that's antifreeze, basically. And they're even finding marijuana in there. Thank God they're not finding fentanyl. Can you imagine? They have a lot of dead kids all over the place. Okay, it's really bad. So the hook is pleasure, decreased anxiety, relaxation. All right, check this slide out. You're gonna be interested in this one. So when I show this slide to kids and I say, oh, look what's going inside your body. Heavy metals, formaldehyde, Morris. You know what is formaldehyde? That's the kind of stuff that they put in, when you have to go to the funeral for go see uncle, put in, why he never look all gross. That's because he had formaldehyde inside him, right? For preserve the body. So, but that's in vape too. Okay, and so don't be tricked by us adults, I tell them. Because we're trying to trick you, just like rainbow fentanyl. They're trying to make them into all kind of different colors, just like how they made the vaping all kind of different flavors. Okay, so 4 out of 5 kids who use tobacco products started because it was flavored. So really, really be careful. And again, so I got a son. He's stuck on vaping. So I tell him, I said, so I show him the presentation. This is at Waikiki High School. So after the presentation, I said, so what you thought about it? He said, oh, Dad, that was cool. Oh, it's interesting. I said, but what you thought about the slide that, since I know you're vaping, like all of that going into your body. He's like, oh yeah, I never know all that. I said, but I don't think I need it. I said, okay, why don't you stop then for 2 weeks and then see how your body responds. And if you're getting anxiety or you're getting, anxious or you get hard time sleep, then already your brain won't shut off its natural capacity to help give you all that. But here's the deal. So he tried. He said, Dad, I think I stuck. I think I stay and I need it. So how long the brain going to start helping me out again? I said, brother, going to take at least 6 months to 1 year for the brain to realize you're not getting them from the outside anymore. So you're going to feel terrible. You're going to feel awful. I hate to say it. And that's why when people recovering from drugs, you folks, it's not easy for them. Because the brain not producing that feel good chemicals anymore. That's why when they're getting off of drugs, they grouchy, right? They feel junk. They can't even laugh at funny jokes anymore. And it's like what used to bring them pleasure before doesn't bring them pleasure anymore. And that's why they need support. That's why they need therapy, and they need a sponsor to say, hey, hang in there. Things gonna be okay. Once you get to that place where you start to get rewards from like natural rewards, and your brain gonna kick in, and you're gonna feel good about that. And when somebody tell you one joke, you're gonna laugh like, really, that was funny, and stuff gonna come back again. But you gotta hang in there. So I told myself, you gotta hang in there now, right? So you gotta do stuff that can give you that natural rewards. I don't know, take up a hobby or try something new, or go lift weights with your brother. So here's the last gateway drug. That's kind of hard for people because, I don't know, Maui, Molokai, Lanai, Big Island, all the same, right? All this legalized marijuana, and, even get songs, right? Legalize it, don't criticize it, right? So all this propaganda, okay? And our kids, so medical marijuana, hey, awesome. Okay, but if it's prescribed, it has shown benefit. But recreationally, not good. Because again, it mimics one part of a brain that already know how to relax, already know how to chill, and you take in the brain's capacity in doing that. So I tell the kids, so look how in different forms they come in. Okay, you kind of make them aware that, you can inhale them, you can smoke them, you can vape them now. It's in e-cigarettes, you can eat them with food. But I like them to know that, there is medicinal properties in marijuana, but also what it does to your lungs is not healthy. A comparison with tobacco and marijuana. And marijuana get tar inside. So, when you get on puka in the road, like on pothole, they fill them with tar. So tar is what they use on the road. Okay? And that's in marijuana. Also, carbon monoxide is in marijuana too. And that's what comes out of the car. That's why they need one smoke detector in your house, in the garage, in case you're sleeping in your car and so you don't die, so that thing go out, right? Or you just don't wake up. People have died from carbon monoxide poisoning. So and then of course people say, but marijuana natural. Marijuana is natural, but so is poison ivy. That's natural too. All right, you're not gonna just tell my kids, you're not gonna just go down the street, start eating leaves or whatever, grass. All right, that's all natural, but so just because natural don't mean the thing not poisonous or not gonna be harmful. So once we get over that, and then picture all the kids, right? Then I'm like, hey, you folks, the first key message is if you haven't started, don't start. Just don't start. And then they go, well, why then? I tell you why, because this is the most profound slide from the whole slideshow. This is hot off the press, you folks. The reason that we want kids not to, if they haven't tried, don't, is because their brain not fully developed. That's just the bottom line. You see, blue indicates the areas of the brain that have been fully developed, while green indicates parts of the brain that's still developing. So you look at 5 years old, that brain not fully developed yet. 10 years old, 15 years old, they're still vaping, that brain not fully developed. Even 20 years old, not fully developed. And that's why, we're telling people, hey, be kind to your mind, right? Be kind to your mind. It's still developing, especially if you're a youngster. And then I show them this slide. And I said, look, this is the latest data from all the scientists in the world on addictions. They found if you use drugs, this gateway, right? And not alcohol, I'm talking like if your first use of, like if you went to I Want It before age 15, your chance of addiction, 30% almost. If you went to I Want It, kind of in I Need It, from 15 to 17 years old, your chance of addiction, almost 20%. But if you just wait a little while, like 3 more years for start experimenting with drugs, this gateway drugs, the chances of addiction, less and less and less. So by 21, your first use, I'm talking, I Want It kind, your risk of addiction, being stuck as an adult, under 5%. So what we're telling people is, hey, the second key message is, hey, if you can wait, we'd rather you wait. So we're not saying just say no like Nancy Reagan. We're saying is, hey, if you like start drinking, maybe like smoke a cigarette, maybe like try vaping, or maybe try, I don't know, take one hit, right? Hey, knock yourself out, go ahead. But you know what? Just wait till you're 25, and then you can experiment with that all you like. That's the message. That's what we're telling kids. Because here's the deal, the research is telling us by age 25, if they haven't, jumped into the I Want It kind of a stage, their brain gonna probably reject it anyway. Plus get all kinds of social factors happening around that kid. Like they probably get on job by then and get drug tests. Like the number of peer pressure that they're getting in as a teenager for say no. Like they had enough life experiences for say, ooh, I don't know about that. I saw uncle, cousin, auntie, they say stuck. Ooh, I don't know if I like it. By age 25, the chances of addiction is almost nothing. So if they can wait, I think that's the tricky folks. That is the trick right there. Because again, just say no, is they just do the opposite. So just think about that, right? And then back to this message. when I do big trainings, I ask how many of you guys. Let me just ask you guys by a show of, I don't know, raise your hand. How many folks know somebody who's addicted, right? Either in your family or maybe extended family, right? Yeah, I mean, I see everybody raising their hand pretty much. And it's so true because whenever I give this presentation, there's a lot of hands raised. And so addictions is all over the place, you know, and what we realized through this research is that addiction is a pediatric disease. It's a brain disease, just like heart disease. It's not even, it's nobody choose addiction, just like nobody choose heart disease. You know, you might have one hamburger today, one Big Mac tomorrow, maybe one Whopper next week, and all of a sudden you get heart disease, okay? You never choose heart disease, you just, your lifestyle led itself to heart disease. Same thing with diabetes. Nobody choose diabetes. Well, nobody choose for have an addiction. But what they're doing is they're choosing for experiment over here, try a little bit over there, a couple beers over here, and then because we don't know, just like heart disease. My brother get heart disease. He's like, hey, I wonder at what Big Mac, you know, one kind of turned me to have heart disease. You know, was it like last week's Big Mac? Okay, you know, and you're like, I don't know about. Same thing with addiction. Like we don't know what was it that last hit, or maybe the last two beers you just don't drink that will get you over to I need it. We don't know, because that's what we don't know. But all we know is the more you experiment with these drugs, the quicker you can get to addiction. And we know you never choose them. So that's important to know too, that really addiction is really a brain disease, just like heart disease. And you got to work your brain away from it. But what is awesome, if the brain gives you second chances though, you know, and if you believe in God, you're like, hey, God give you second chances too, because your brain was like, I'm not going to produce them. And all of a sudden you stop and the brain says, okay, I go produce some now. Now this natural feel good kind, the dopamine, right? And so here it is. So we talk about that, the gateway drugs, because again, nobody go from, you know, very hardly they just go from, you know, chocolate candy to fentanyl. So once we share all of this information, then we talk, hey, now we're talking about the hard drugs. So when we get to cocaine or the uppers, right? Meth is still the drug of choice in the state. Okay, so I tell people, hey, like the 7th, 8th graders, I just give them a presentation. I say, hey, if you're at a party and you see this kind of stuff, walk away, right? You see somebody smoking one glass pipe like that, walk away, okay? Because kids, they don't know. And some kids do know. And if you see this in your house, go talk to your counselor, okay? And parents, if you see this in your kids' rooms, go talk to your kid, okay? Because something's happening. Right, this is paraphernalia. Now, meth can make you really stuck. You can get to I need it pretty quickly. It's a super addictive drug, but you can see tooth decay, weight loss, tweaking kind symptoms, picking at your skin, hard time sleep. You know, those are the withdrawals, right? So that's why and then when they stop, the brain not making you feel good anymore, because the brain is like, I'm sorry, I'm not getting it if you're getting it from the outside. So then the addiction is, so you keep going back to that addiction. It's hard to get out of it, you know, like I said. So we also share this slide on this cocaine and what that looked like. And we talk a little bit about it and about crack. And, you know, again, if you go to a party and you see, you know, somebody smoking one spoon, lighting up one spoon, you know that's some problem right there. Or you get one razor blade and they're cutting up powder, that's cocaine. So walk away. Right? Leave the party, call your parents, say, hey, come pick me up already. Okay, that's serious stuff. I tell them straight, that's serious stuff. You don't like get involved in that. Okay, and then we talk a little bit about hallucinogens, because that's kind of one problem too with kids huffing, you know, gasoline, nail polish thinner, paint thinner, mushrooms. You know, again, there's something in our brain that mimics that. That's why just so happened, I tell them, hey, just so happened, marijuana, tobacco, vaping, alcohol, you know, this paint thinner, just so happened, what's in there, our brain already produced. So that's why those drugs are addictive. But like, you know, other things like lettuce, hey, eat all the lettuce you like, okay? You're not gonna get addicted to lettuce. Sometimes with my weight problem, I wish I was addicted to lettuce. But or Gatorade, hey, drink all the Gatorade you like. You're not gonna get addicted to Gatorade, okay? There's just things out there that it doesn't mimic what's in our brain, but just so happen these drugs do. So be careful. Okay, so then we said, So then what do we do then in the meantime, right? If we try and if we in recovery, or if we just don't feel good and we try and feel good, what is the alternatives to these drugs then? Well, let me tell you. First, you got to know that first you got to know get different kind of drugs out there. Okay, mommy, daddy, aunties, uncles. Hey, we was raised at a time where pretty much only cigarettes, beer, and I don't know, marijuana. That was like the major ones at a party, at the average party. But now at the average party, you get a buffet of drugs with kids trying bringing in different stuffs, the pills, the vaping, the marijuana, the cocaine, even, and heroin, and fentanyl can be laced in any one of these, and that's why fentanyl is the leading cause of death. Not because by choice, just because drugs dealers, they like save money and they lace them a little bit in all these drugs, so the users get one mean high on fake happiness, and where I got that from, and then they go back to that dealer, and then now the dealer get them hooked, and now they're making money. But the dealer don't know how much to put in when it becomes too much. So the user is like taking a chance. And it's sad because in the drug community, when somebody died from a drug, you think that would be a deterrent. It's actually people more interested in where you got them from because, oh, I like that one. I was potent. Oh yeah, that one died. So they don't think they're going to die. That's why. That's the mentality of those addicted to drugs. They like the high, and they're willing to take the risk, and they're not winning right now. So the second thing we got to do is we also got to tell people, hey, so before you was on drugs, you started getting addicted. Where was the happy place? Where was that happy place for you? What person, place, or activity made you happy? And try go back to there. Go back to there. And if you need some like research, here's some research we tell them. So there's 7 ways to trigger the feel-good chemicals in our brain. It's basically that dopamine system in our brain. So these are dopamine shots. You like your dopamine shots? You got to get them from a vape or marijuana or an alcohol. You can get them from exercise. Good exercise releases those same endorphins. Okay, but if you exercise with another person, like if you walk with another person and you start talking stories and you socialize and you laugh, those are rewards. That's like your reward system in your brain is being triggered. Okay, music triggers that reward system. Playing music, listening to music, setting goals is probably the best thing. Because when you set one goal and you reach your goal, oh, that's like one major hit you took right there. One major hit on life you just took, and you're getting all that reward. Meditation, prayer. If you're trying to smoke cigarettes for relax, try and meditate. Breathe. Try this. Everybody inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. You do that 3 times. That's like you drank 3 beers. Okay, so you relax. Okay? So talking stories with friends, laughing. All of that, it's super important. Starting something new. That's why when my son now is trying to stop vaping, right? So, yeah, I see Baga buy a motorcycle. So he's 22 years old. He get extra money. So my wife was like, what are you buying? So I thought, hey, let him go. He gonna get rewards from that because he gonna try to fix some. He gonna get on the thing on work. That's one shot of dopamine right there. Right now, he's trying for Papa Willie, see how long he can stay up on one. Hey, that's all dopamine. That's all natural reward. So he can stay up. Oh, you're feeling good now. Just like when he was a kid riding on a tricycle. Now you know how to ride on a bike. Oh, yeah. It's like you're taking hits, dopamine hits, free and natural. So let them go. So people who are trying to recover, they might take up some odd hobbies, and you just have to be patient, okay? You gotta be like, whoa, what you doing? They might look like midlife crisis kind, and they're only, 16 years old. So, but you just gotta let them go as long as it's healthy, okay? Because they gotta be careful, right? So you also gotta be careful with other potential addicting issues like smartphones, social media. Research is showing video games, gambling, the rate of addiction not as fast as these chemicals, but in time the brain starts to trigger that because you're getting them from this outside source, so the brain starts to turn off too. So you could be addicted to that as well. And if you don't think you're addicted to your cell phone or your Netflix or if you play video games, then just try stop doing it for 2 weeks and see. If you start getting all the kind withdrawals, then you're stuck. But check yourself, right? I like it, I want it, I need it. Okay, you gotta check yourself. Okay, so some of the take-home messages is, if you choose, we tell folks, most of the kids again, because we get the police trying to decrease the supply, right? But us as social workers, in the field, we can really make a good dent at decreasing the demand. If people out there say, hey, I don't like die, number one, or two, I don't like get addicted, then the drug dealers, they're going to go someplace else. Okay, so if you choose to use, we tell kids, hey, wait until you're age 25 if you like experiment with these drugs. Allow your brain to develop, be kind to your mind, all right? Two is adopt a lifestyle that triggers dopamine naturally. Three, learn about addictive substances, be educated. If you're in I need it, get help early. And we all know that treatment works and recovery is always possible. So what I showed him is that, he's a client, she went from 12 years struggling with math, and then now she's an honor student. So, you can't be stuck 12 years. The brain is amazing. It gives you a second chance, and we all need second chances. So, people who are stuck in addictions, let them know that, hey, they're not alone, number one. Number two, it's not their fault. Number three, that's from brain disease. So when they start engaging in criminal behavior, that's because their brain is hurting and they need to, and their pain is too sore. So they're looking for a way for relief the pain, and that's the withdrawal. So you gotta feel with them. It's hard when it's your own kid or maybe somebody you love, and you're like, oh, just come on, get with it. But just know that it's a brain disease and they need support, and it takes about 6 months for them to be off of it so that they can kind of get, their feelings back again, good feelings back again. So we basically say, kind of like, I use the word hope. I say, hey, you guys got to have hope. And hope is, hey, just hold on. Pain ends. You got to hold on. Pain ends. That's my definition of hope. Because some of these people who get addicted, whether youth or adults, they just like end their life. The withdrawals is too much. They feel junk. They feel real bad about themselves. They feel like they don't have the willpower, and then they get people around them, criticizing them and like, what are you doing that for? And they're just stuck, So that's why they need help and they need treatment. So when you work with them, just say, hey, hang on, hold on, pain ends. But you got to hold on though. If you take your life, if you kill yourself, I cannot help you. And there's people who can survive out of this. So instead of just forgetting everything and running away, which is what they like do when they're dealing with stress, how about just face everything and recover? So use fear to your advantage. Just like how I shared in my keynote, like turn that around, right? Yeah, there's a lot to be afraid of, but use fear to, how about just face everything and recover? You can do it, but you got to hold on. Okay, and let us work with you. It's kind of the message. So what I've done is I also take this this device, this nasal spray to all the schools, I take them, I've just done Hope Catholic Charities over here on our Big Island, Hope Services. They do street medicine. I'm going to be doing the Child Adolescent Mental Health Division next week for all the case managers. I'm going to be doing Adult Mental Health Division and the Senior Housing Program. Basically, right now, whoever when training, and it's on real fast training, only like 3 minutes, on how to use this nasal spray called Narcan. I can give the training. I'm a certified trainer. And it's free, again. And the device is free. We finally got Department of Health, the Harm Reduction Center to start giving it out for free. So I just had 200 come in from Department of Health, and now I'm going around doing trainings and I'm giving it out. So people who do street medicine, if you're working with kids, athletes, athletic directors should have it because kids taking, pain medication, athletes especially. Senior housing programs, because seniors take pain medication. Sometimes they double up. Sometimes they forget they took them at 10 o'clock. They take 3 at 12, and now they're just sleeping and passing out. So, but this Narcan, it can save a life, and it's real simple. It's just 3 Ps. So here's your training. So if anybody says, hey, you guys got training. You say, yeah, you got training from Dr. Kimo, and I can sign off on it. All right, so here's the training, and then I can mail you guys or somehow get you this Narcan. So what it is you just peel it, and if I have one in front of me, it's in my car. But it's simple. You just peel it, you place it in the nostril, and you press it, and it just shoots it just like a nasal spray. And here's the deal: it's harmless. Okay, so I if I was here, I would do it to myself. Somebody can be passed out from alcohol or maybe just sleeping and they're not waking up or something, and you're nervous about it. You can just spray it in their nose, and then you wait 2 minutes. And if they don't get up, of course you call 911. You go through the same CPR kind of protocols, except you don't give mouth to mouth. Okay, because if there are on an overdose with fentanyl and you give mouth to mouth, you might get fentanyl ingested and you might die. That's what happened to the 6 athletes in Florida, right? So I had 4 athletes, actually 6 died from fentanyl, but really it was just 4. They was doing cocaine and had fentanyl laced in the cocaine, and it was kind of like had residue all over the mouth, on the nose. And so 4 of them were they wasn't waking up. So they called 911. If they had Narcan, that would have saved their life. Right in the nose, wait 2 minutes, the person comes right back. Just like it literally revives the dead. Okay, you come just right back up alive because it stops the morphine from going into the neurotransmitter, and it just blocks it. And it's just, and then the person if the person is a heavy user, they'll go right into their withdrawals again. And sometimes they get mad that they don't know that they wanted that high, but they don't know that they was dead pretty much. So you brought them back. So what happened with the Florida one is they went and they gave mouth to mouth, and they got the residue, they ingested the residue, and they died from that. So, now if somebody's passing out, and you think it's fentanyl, we recommend, and you don't even do mouth to mouth. You just go compressions and you call 911. So this is called Narcan, and you can get it for free right here. You guys have this on the PDF. So, this idea again, be kind to your mind. And what I tell kids is watch out for the big one-liner. And this is kind of how I end my presentation. They say, oh, Uncle, what is that? The one big liar. I said, well, 1 stands for something. Okay, don't ever forget it now, because this is the story that folks that friends, try to get you hooked, right? They like you try something. So the O stands for, when they say, oh, try this, only one time, the O stands for only one time. When they say that, you already know they lying, because when it comes to drugs, it's hardly ever only one time. Addictions is real. The N stands for, hey, nobody gonna know. Okay, that's what the N stands for. When it comes to drugs, I tell the kids, hey, when you stuck in addictions, guess what? And you're in the I need it, everybody gonna know. Okay? And the E stands for, now they're really lying, right? When they say, hey, everybody's doing it. Okay? So I said, be careful for the one big liars. And I say, what the O stand for? And they go, oh, only one time. And what the N stands for? Oh, no, nobody gonna know. And what the E stands for? Everybody's doing it. I said, that's a lie, because it's not only one time, and everybody gonna know, and not everybody's doing it. So, don't be tricked by these folks. If that's your friends, they're not your friends anymore. Okay, so be careful out there. We end with the CARES line, the 1-800 number. And if anybody need help, you guys all know this number. So that's the presentation. I wanted to kind of leave it up for a talk story now, and you can unmute, and if you ask me questions. We got about 15 minutes. So any questions?
This is Mark. I just wanted to say that the fentanyl use, and it is so quick. My kind of brother-in-law died of it, and it affects more than just the person, and kids should know that what's it going to be like if your mom and dad, if you use something and you die, how would you feel about how their life is ruined forever? They'll never get over it. And your brother, or your sister, or your aunts, or your uncles, what you do affects a lot of people. So it's about making good decisions. And that's what I try and talk to the kids about. being present, making good decisions, thinking before you do something, figure out what the consequences are going to be before you do them. And so that's one of the consequences, I think, maybe that, you know, because it is only one time. He had an addiction for a while. He was in treatment and he just had an urge. He couldn't get the drug he wanted. He went to somebody, he got some heroin, and his wife found him the next day sitting in the parking lot behind the wheel of his car, with the tinfoil on his lap and the pipe in his hand, dead. You know,
Mm.
it's quick and it's bad. So,
Mm.
yeah, and it affects everybody. You know, so yeah,
Oh.
bad.
Yeah, it's heavy. Yeah, I know. So if I can get a parent, you know, who lost a child or a brother or a sister who lost somebody to present with me, it makes it even more powerful, the presentation, because they get to share just what you said. Yeah. So I'll go around. I guess we get time. So let me just go around then. And if you like just pass, you can pass. Let me go down the list of your Suli, Aki. Any thoughts?
I actually teach life skills in the Molokai Middle School and High School under our youth program for Maui Family Support Services. So everything you said, I mean, it's much more enhanced, but I'm like, you need to come to Molokai. I mean, I'm sure talking to both our principals, something can happen, and you're coming for free. I'm pretty sure that can work. So I'm excited and I'm hoping that it happens sometime before Christmas. That's my thoughts.
Great, great. Well, let's make it happen. How about David? How's it, Mr. Matos? Good to see you.
Hey, Kimo, aloha. You know, I just was watching Dr. Phil, and I'm not sure if it was yesterday or I taped it from the day before, but this is, he doesn't even call this addiction. He calls this like direct purpose to murder people. That was his take.
Oh.
So what you had shared was confirmation on everything that I just saw. And yeah, we got to take this stuff really, really serious. I work up in Aloha House, part-time Aloha House Residential Treatment Center. This one brother, he was lucky. And I don't know if Narcan brought him back or whatever, but you know, he shared with me that from previously struggled, now after being there for a few weeks, he's actually going to go into long-term, especially because he would flatline on fentanyl, but was at safe. So when you ask for maybe parents, I mean, I'm thinking of him, like he might be somebody good someday that help make a difference with this too, because he lived it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, David. Dr. Alicia.
Nothing super useful, just mahalo for sharing. I think this is a really timely and important topic for all of us, regardless of the area that we work in.
Awesome, thank you.
So thank you.
How about Kuipo? Kuipo.
I just thought this was so powerful. I mean, you just really didn't know, I didn't really know much about it, but you pretty much enhanced some information. I mean, I have grandkids that are young, so now I'm like, wow, I gotta be paying attention more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Mahalo.
Hello. Again, C. Kim is your title on your Zoom.
I just want to thank you for the presentation, and you know, the enhanced information is really great. I've been away from substance use, well, working in the field for about 13 years and returned to Mālama Family Recovery. So thank you so much. This information is really great. Thank you.
Awesome. How about Gail Murakami?
Hi, Dr. Alameda. You know, I used to work in a medical clinic, and I used to do pain medication management contracts. That's when I learned about fentanyl, because it's used not very back then. It wasn't very often as a pain management, but it was amazing how addictive it was. And so recently, my niece who lives on Hawaii Island was like sharing the information that was ending up in the newspapers there. And it's scary because and she talked to her kids who attend Hilo High, and they were like, oh yeah, Mom, you know, we've seen it. So definitely it's out there and a concern. So thank you for this.
Yeah. Oh, Amber, Nakia.
I just think this stuff is nuts. You know, just thinking of how like
seems like they're just lacing everything. Back in the day, if somebody was smoking like one doobie, they'd lace it with something like, Coke, just, but you never really have to worry kind of about that kind of stuff. Now, if they try and do that just with that little bit, they just risk dying just on one try. But yeah, like Suli was saying, because I'm saying Marlene with her, definitely having you come here to the school would be really awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm there. I set them up. How about Tim?
Yeah, hey, I have just one comment. I had a friend that actually just passed away a couple of weeks ago from fentanyl, and I guess he was going out and buying straight fentanyl, and they thought they could do their own measurements. They were just, acting like their own pharmacists. So they weren't buying mixed stuff already. They were trying to do fentanyl straight.
Oh, wow. That's rough, yeah. How about Daisha? Lee Spinisa?
Oh man, like overloaded with information. But before this, I was already thinking like, how do we get Narcan? Should we have that on us at all times? Because it's getting crazy, and I just seen a couple articles online about it. But yeah, I'm on Molokai too, so if you come,
okay,
awesome.
All righty, Tania.
Aloha. Yeah, this stuff is scary. I've been reading about it in the news and I've been hearing it on the news, but it never hits home until I hear it from our people, right? And I make that connection that, oh, this is in our backyard. These are people that we know. These are people we have connections to. So thank you for presenting it in a way that is, to me, culturally appropriate, to show that, yeah, this matters to us. We got to start paying attention and we got to start acting on it. So mahalo.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, Heidi, Ann?
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for sharing today. It is really important. And I am someone I really think we should advocate more for getting Narcan all around, having it like in the schools and more accessible to everyone, even if they are addicted, just to save more lives. So thank you, mahalo. And I really love your style of speaking.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, good. All right. How about Tina? How are you doing, Tina?
Wonderful. And like I said, nice to have that connection again. I remember the days of when you were with CAMD. So mahalo. When are you going to do this presentation? You mentioned CAMD.
Yeah, so Child SM Mental Health Division. So I do a Zoom with them next week.
Oh, wonderful. Okay,
yeah.
Well, scary stuff out there. Yeah. So mahalo for the information.
Okay. How about
thank you.
Yeah, Nicole? How about ask about former folks. Nicole?
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate your approach as well. And I think it's so important how we talk to kids about things that we know that they're doing. And when we come across as, just authoritative and, like scolding them or yelling at them for their choices, it just doesn't really go anywhere. But when you can talk with them and, use the harm reduction approach, or even talk about, kind of like, your whole approach, I think, is harm reduction. And so I think that's a really important approach to have with kids who are doing some of this stuff. So how do we come in alongside them, help them to make safer choices, and move them along towards safer activities. And I think it's so important to keep them engaged in the conversation and not have them just tune us out. So I appreciate that approach.
And I make it funny too. So if you guys can like to do this, a pointer and a thumb, and then just try switch it like that. So what I do, I kind of stage it. So I tell one adult, hey, you guys should practice this. And then I call the adult up and I say, kids, our brains is fully developed. So if I call any adult randomly, I can tell them make the switch. It's gonna be so easy for them. But of course, the adult was practicing, right? So then the adult comes up and they start making the switch, right? So then I said, "Whoa, kids, let me test you, see if your brain is like really good like the adults, right?" And then the kids come up and they're all like, "Huh?" So I go, "You see, listen to us when we tell you your brain not fully developed. You can't even do that, and all the adults can do that." You know, so kind of like I try for engagement. At the end, I give them this ball. It's like a stress ball, but it's like your brain. So it's like shaped like your brain, and it says "Be kind to your mind." And so like, and it's really so when they leave with a stress ball, and I tell them take this home to your parents, and not just give them to them, but let them know what you learned today. You know, because some of these kids live in places where the parents they're using drugs, right? So. Talk about risk factors, protective factors, but give them to them and say, "Hey, this guy, Dr. Kimo, talked to me about vaping that." And you know, you never know, but you know what? All you vaping, all kinds of stuff say inside. So like, you know, like you're messing up with your brain. So we try to make them engaging like that, and I'll bring my stress balls wherever I do my training, so they get something. Yeah. So one more. Well, how about let's see, Catherine Sorensen.
Hi, thank you so much, Kimo. This has been wonderful. One of the things that I really hadn't been aware of was that the brain just stops producing its own dopamine. That was kind of new to me. And the other, I remember watching a show where it showed, I guess it was police had put on gloves when they were going through a car, just because through touch, I guess if they had a cut or a scratch, they could absorb the fentanyl and potentially die. So I thought with the fentanyl, there's such an immediacy of the reaction that could lead to a fatal event.
Yeah. It's tough stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
One more, Tishani.
Yeah, very informative, and it was I really liked how you broke it down and made it super simple and digestible for, you know, to match your audience, but it was so informative in a way that was easy to digest. And I'm also thinking about, I have a niece and a couple of nephews that go to Baldwin High School. My niece just graduated, and you know, it's a scary thing to think about. And when I look at my niece and my nephews, you know, I know they're drinking, I know they're smoking weed and doing all this stuff, but I can't tell them anything because their parents don't tell them anything. And then when I step in to say something, they hit me with the question of, "Who are you?" Mm-hmm. You know, because their parents are kind of in the mindset of, oh, they got to learn on their own. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, okay, well, you're going to learn on your own when your kid dies, or when your kid is in the hospital, or when your kid kills somebody else. Mm-hmm. And then what's going to happen? You know, so yeah, I'm in a situation with my niece right now where I'm trying to step in again, but she, you know, so yeah. It's very informative, and I hope it kind of takes flight.
Well, it's old school too, right? I mean, old school. I mean, I get my brother, you know, it's like, "Hey, let them try them, you know, let's get it over with, you know." But that idea was, "Hey, bro, their brain not fully developed, man. You're really messing with their brainlet. So don't let them try. Wait. I mean, if they like experiment, just put it off as long as possible, you know, because there's some brain disease." And now I'm talking to the brother who actually went through Sand Island treatment center and everything, and don't know really how he got there. So I'm like, "Bro, you got there from when you was in high school. It's that huffing and the smoking marijuana, and so you know, if you give your brain one chance, your brain gonna be strong enough for arm itself later." So anyway, you guys are a great audience. Again, thank you so much. Sorry I couldn't get to everybody, but you know, we're at 2:40, so I wanted to turn it back to our moderator. Smash, take it away.